Great, wonderful. Thank you so much for this warm welcome and introduction. It's really nice. Now, what I try to do is to walk you through the presentation that I gave yesterday, and the challenge is to make it as short as possible. So it is about responsible leadership, and what we see is that this topic has risen over the past decades and received some prominence due to different reasons. Firstly, because of all the accidents that we learned about, corporate wrongdoing, etc., but also about pressure of different stakeholders that businesses and their leaders engage in doing good. So what we see is that there are different calls for responsible leadership, starting with the European Foundation for Management Development in 2005. Then it became a hot topic at the World Economic Forum in Davos. So you see here Klaus Schwab, who actually called for more responsibility in business and also in the public sphere. Now, when we talk about responsible leadership, we say it is not only about avoiding harm, right? Avoiding accidents, avoiding scandals, but also predominantly also about doing good. So creating positive value for society, creating public value, and contributing to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So meaning leaders are actually asked to use their power and influence to contribute to positive change. So when we talk about responsible leadership, we see a shift from this very narrow relationship between the leader and the direct report to create simply business objectives. What was usually missing in the traditional leadership research was this responsibility dimension. And so this is what we are bringing into the field by widening the scope of what leaders are responsible for and studying that. So leadership, as we understand it, is about mobilizing different stakeholders, be it employees within the organization, be it customers and clients, be it shareholders, be it the broader public, to engage in activities that help to create solutions to change the world for the better, right? It is about co-creation, it is about doing no harm, doing good, finding solutions, be it in terms of products, be it in terms of business innovation, supply chain innovation, or other design innovations. Right? So it is about delivering on the triple bottom line, so people, planet, profit, and to respond to the needs of different stakeholders inside and outside the organization. So this is a very new landscape for many of the business leaders. There are many new competencies that they need to show in order to engage with different stakeholders. Now, the scope of leadership responsibility has broadened. However, there are different understandings of what responsible leadership means, and that is where our research started. So, cutting that very short, we did a study with top executives from different businesses in different countries and different industries, and that showed that there is a landscape of different understandings of responsible leadership, meaning different leaders have different understandings of whom they are responsible for. So the scope, some things it's very narrow, others saying it's very broad. Others have a very, very low degree of accountability. Others have a high one. So within this landscape, we identified four different prototypes: the idealist, the traditionalist, the instrumentalist, and the integrator. So currently, we see many businesses in this realm, in this landscape place. So we have, and I will go through that quickly, the traditionalist, that is whom we know as the one who's using business for profit. They are really trying to maximize profit, they try to create value for shareholders, and they engage in business if it is truly necessary. They follow the doctrine of Milton Friedman: the business of business is business, corporate social responsibility of business is to increase its profit. And so they are quite resistant when it comes to creating broader public or societal value, and would only do that if it's really necessary. When it comes then to innovation, they are not really trying to innovate for society, but they try to innovate if it's possible to enhance shareholder value. Therefore, when it comes to societal values, they have Me Too approach. So they would engage if they can increase or use a certain innovation that is already there, that has proved to be successful, like for instance microfinance, and then put it into their product portfolio. This is all very good, and they are all very much still in this landscape of responsible leadership because they pay taxes and provide jobs, and by doing so contribute to the environment. However, there is a certain risk because they are driven very much by self-interest. And this can shift from self-interest into greed, right? And that's the problem. Now, let me provide you with one example what this may mean and how this could look like. So we talked yesterday about the Ford Pinto case. You may have known that was a design flaw in the 70s, and so there were two sides. There were the business administrators and there were the designers, right? The designer said, well, we have a flaw here, and this can actually produce serious effects, which I show you here. So there is an accident and very low mileage, only 20 miles per hour. It exploded because the gas tank was positioned at the rear end of the car. And so the question was what to do. And there was a design solution. So designers knew this can be resolved by simply redesigning the gas tank. Now, what did management do? Management said, well, we calculate what that means. We do a cost-benefit analysis, right? We look into, sorry, that was wrong. We look into what are the costs when we add this particular device and redesign it, which is $11 per car, meaning with 12.5 million cars, we have cost of 137 million. But if we now, let's do another calculation as well. We put a human value, a monetary value of the human being, and monetarize the damage. So they took some insurance numbers and came up with, okay, if we have calculate 180 deaths, 180 injuries, 2,100 million bird cars, multiply that, we have a cost of $49 million. Well, $49 million are less than actually introducing this additional gadget. And so the CEO decided we bring the car to the market without redesigning it. Now, over the decade, what was predicted happened. Many people died, many injuries, horrible, got into the media, bad reputation, and the Ford Pinto was actually faded out, right? So this means this is a decision where one would consciously accept that one does harm on human beings. So having said that, this actually falls out of the responsible leadership matrix. This is irresponsible, right? The traditional economists wouldn't do that. They would still say, we have to accept that we shouldn't harm people. So they also have principles there, therefore they sit in here. But there was a lot of learning around that, right? We need to have some values. It's important to respect the life of people. We need to respect that we have to ensure their dignity. So, while the traditionalist is a minimalist approach to responsible leadership, and they only engage if they can immediately show that this is profitable for shareholders, we see currently a move to the instrumentalist side. And the instrumentalist is very much sharing the same ideas like the traditionalists, so profit maximization, being effective, etc. But they say, well, we also have to take a broader look into what's happening in the external environment, and since more and more stakeholders actually want us to be more responsible, we need to act, we need to do something. And so what we see is that these instrumentalists have a broader stakeholder view. still low in their kind of responsibilities towards broader others, but they try to do something. And I will come to this image here where we have a market-driven design, where we see more and more companies taking it seriously to report on what they are doing in terms of sustainability. And Jeff Immelt, CEO of General Electric, was very active already at the beginning of the millennium, introduced a new eco-imagination campaign, thereby was already at the forefront of electric cars. And what we see here is they are quite actually more open, more proactive when it comes to innovation. So while the Economist is here, more Me Too innovations, laggard, they try to be at the forefront there and try to bring something to the market where they can realize win-win situations and at the same time contribute to society and making a profit. Sorry, I have to click through that all the time. But this brings me to another one, and while they are still driven by the purpose of business is business, we see here a shift that says, well, the purpose of business is to contribute to society, to make a real profound change and to serve society. So we have here the integrator. The integrator is interesting because they have broad sense of accountability towards different stakeholders and also a high degree of responsibility. And they say we are driven by humanistic values. We really want to create change that is lasting, that has a positive impact, that is a second order solution that really helps to alleviate the problems, not only alleviate, but to cure the problems that we are currently facing. An example here are companies that are, for instance, using biodynamic approaches in order to actually produce in harmony with nature. They try to create products that are good for the well-being of people. You see here a different design principle. It is really designing with nature. It is designing with a systems view in mind. And this has also very profound implications how they understand the way they are doing business. So Ray Anderson, the founder and CEO of Interface, which is also a design-led floor manufacturer, says, for those who think business only exists to make a profit, I suggest to think it again. Business makes a profit to exist. So this is a very profound shift in mindset in management and in leadership, right? Where we all of a sudden have this humanistic side at the forefront. And we see that we have a new understanding of leadership styles. So the leader as change agent, the leader as servant to the needs of others, the leader as steward, stewarding the environment, the nature that we are in. Right? So quite a different approach. The leader as communicator, as storyteller, to engage with different stakeholders, to mobilize them, to together create social innovation, create solutions that have a positive effect on business and society. And what we see here is we often have these innovators. They are either really designing from scratch or are early adopters. So biodynamic approaches have been very new to the cosmetics industry, running in parallel to the traditional industry, but still being not the norm, not the mainstream. This is a second order solution that we saw here with the biodynamic approach. I like to share a final one, and that is the idealist. The idealist is very different. These are all for-profit organizations. Here we see the social enterprises, usually not having achieved self-sustainability yet, or having an idea and a purpose that is not purpose-driven. So they are very much driven by an idealistic mindset. Often they are altruist, doing business even if it incurs a loss. They may even invest their personal money into that, at least until they achieve self-sustainability. What we often see here is something, at least in my research, designing for dignity. So we see here that they try to create solutions for stakeholders in need, and do that because they are really passionate about them, they are really compassionate and caring for these stakeholders. Here you see a solution by Graham Vikas, a social enterprise in India who bring water and sanitation systems to indigenous communities and help them to build their own water and sanitation programs, thereby allowing them to really develop second-order solution, meaning access to clean drinking water, instead of using simply a purifying sachet, right, that transforms polluted drinking water into clean one. Important in pandemics or in catastrophic situations, but not really, it's a remedy, huh? A first-order solution, not a true cure of a problem. And so what we see, particularly among these idealists, are really this true innovative approaches. You may also think about rare diseases where they engage in and try to find solutions. And particularly these are areas where either the public system fails or where corporations do not want to invest in yet, right? So they take a lot of courage and a lot of energy to do that. Now the question is, where and how can each mindset make the best contribution to achieve social change, right? I don't say that one is better as the other, but I say they have different contributions to make. Right, so the traditionalist, well, when it's a Me Too, he has a lot of social impact, he has a lot of impact. If he takes microfinance into portfolio, can mean a lot of credits for people who need that, right? They have a large scale. The instrumentalist also, they can actually have the scaling effect. The idealists, they really look into very new fields of innovation and are active there, engaged there, and perhaps this is leveraged later on by other businesses. And the integrator, that try to really lead the way in terms of hybrid solutions. Though these most of the time are likely to develop first-order solutions, here we more see the second-order solution. The question that remains is, how can we bring them together so that they can work together and leverage their best effects? And that is where the relational side of leadership comes into place. Partnerships are important here, so the United Nations goals number 17, to bring different groups, different actors, different power players, different industries, different sectors together to actually tackle the pressing problems of today and to create public and societal values to change the world for the better and for future generations. That was it in a nutshell.